Should you report a problem that you have within the company to the Human Resources Department? I think this question has been asked by millions of people. There are hundreds of videos on YouTube about it, and this is my take on the whole subject. I hope this video helps. Stay tuned.
Hostile territory.
Now, before we start, I would just like to mention a few things about the HR department. Now, obviously, I'm not a professional on this topic. I would not like any of this that I'm going to say seen as some sort of statement or politics or anything else. This is just something I've seen over the years and talking to other people, watching countless YouTube videos on this topic and everything else, and I wish to share it with you. My personal opinion on the Human Resources Department is that there are two types of Human Resources Department. There is one type that actually solves problems and helps the company employees, and there is the other type where their problem solving is equal to zero. From what I've seen, the latter kind is much more numerous. There are lots of departments within companies that do not actually help their employees solve problems. Now, why am I telling you this? This is to put some sort of context around what we will be talking about. My point is that if you work in a toxic and hostile environment, probably the Human Relations Department is not doing their job properly. And these are the people or person you are going to be complaining to. So please have this important fact always in mind. Besides this, it's always good to know something about your Human Relations Department, something about the people that work inside there. As we've talked in our previous video where it's immensely useful to know the hierarchy in your company, the sort of commanding structure from bottom to the top. We've made a video specifically on this topic. I'll leave a link in the card in the corner or in the description. If you know the people within your company, within the Human Resources Department, it is very useful, okay? For instance, you may be complaining to someone who is friend with some of the co-workers you are complaining about. They may be buddies in soccer, in golf, they may visit each other after working hours, and so on. Next, it's good to know what kind of people they are. What kind of problem solvers are they? Do they solve problems on a imaginary basis? So you complain and all you get is some sort of memo, where they say the sun is shining and the grass is green and that's that, if you know what I mean. Or are they the kind of people which really take into account what you say and react to it? So all in all, it's very good to know who those people are. Of course, you don't have to make a fool of yourself and be some sort of investigator, but also, as we mentioned in previous videos, if you keep your eyes open and your ears listening, you can gather lots of information. It is also the case with human relations. Next, I would like to mention the consequences of complaining. So now that you know what kind of human relations department you are addressing, and you may know to some extent what kind of people work there, the next thing you should consider is the consequences of your acts. If you work in a toxic and hostile workplace, know that there is a good chance that your complaint will not have any kind of effect. On the contrary, you may make things even worse for yourself. You may get bombarded with more work. You may get even more bad treatment from your coworkers, especially if they learn from the HR department that you complained about them. Especially if there's some sort of circular mail going around about, you complaining. All in all, you'll make the already bad situation even worse. So this is a very important thing to consider. One more thing I would like to mention, which is important, and that is to make a well-structured, effective complaint letter, email, or something of that sort. If you're going to have a talk, make sure that everything is aligned in your head and you know what you're going to complain about. What do many people do, at least in my opinion? They go and they lose the point of their complaining. Mind you, if you go to a human resources department and complain about something and you are not punctual about what the problem is, your complaint is gone. It is finished. So even if you have to prep a bit, if you have to put things on paper, and see what the problem actually is, which is, by the way, very useful for better problem solving. But even if you have to do that, do it, okay? Avoid things like going to the HR department and talking about stupid things like, I don't like the tablecloths in the cafeteria. I don't like the type of keypad I'm working on. You lose your momentum and you lose the power of your complaining. What you must do is have, again, a clean, precise, sharp structure of what the problem is. If you have a problem with your boss, what is the problem? If you have a problem with your coworkers, what is the problem? Nice and clear, possibly in 1 or 2 sentences. If you have a problem with the company policy, what is the problem? Again, 1 or 2 sentences. Also remember this, when talking to a human relations worker, and I mean this without any kind of animosity, they are not your friends. They are people who are there to protect the interest of the company. Don't have any kind of friendly talk, even if they want to do that, okay? Be strict. This is, again, on my part. You don't have to take it into consideration. Be strict, state your case, state what the problem is, and get out of there as soon as possible. Again, avoid things like small talk, and especially, and please do this, avoid gossip. What you heard, it is not important. So have a strict and clean structure of what you're gonna say. The next thing, which is the last line of defense regarding the human resources department and regarding you, is to see how the whole conversation with the HR person goes. Or if you're not having a conversation, how does the email or some kind of other correspondence goes? Does that conversation have a helpful tone? Does it have perhaps a hostile tone? Does it have an uninterested tone? Is that person even interested in your problem? If you see this will give you an immense advantage once more. And when complaining, there is one more thing you should consider. Never complain about the big things first. Complain about something minor. Throw that as sort of a bait and see what happens. See the reaction, okay? If that other person is sort of interested, and if there's a solution immediately, then try with the bigger things. Watch how the conversation goes. If you mention a bigger thing that happened, a bigger accident, a bigger problem, some sort of a problem that you think influences the company policy, influences the work you're doing, if your colleagues or co-workers are making some sort of mistakes and everything else, all in all, you're mentioning something that has a big impact on the company as a whole, and that person is not interested at all, or you get some sort of blunt answer, we'll see what happens, I've written it down, we'll see what happens, we'll see how things go and everything else. Cut the complaining right there at that moment. So just finish it. What's the point on this part? Again, you will be complaining to someone who will not solve your problem. You are talking about the problems in a toxic and hostile workplace, for instance, how colleagues are treating you bad, how your boss is treating you bad, how you're having certain problems in work, how you're having health problems because of that, and all you'll probably get is some sort of mail or some sort of statement which says, we'll see what happens, we'll see about that, maybe you should consider some sort of consulting help and everything like that, and nothing changes. So again, closely related to what we've talked earlier in the video, be very careful to who you are complaining to and be very careful about what you are complaining. For the end, I would like to talk about one more thing, which is closely related to the consequences part we talked in the video, and that is the aftermath of the complaining. I must say that this is one part that you should seriously consider even before complaining, okay? This is essentially talking about the consequences again, but I would just like to mention it once more because it is immensely important. The aftermath of complaining to an human resources department that is not effective and complaining within a toxic and hostile work environment will probably lead to nothing, okay? You will not solve your problem that way. The human resources department in that situation will probably just take note that you complained and that's it. And as mentioned, in worst case scenarios, there will be a circular mail. You will be in the spotlight as a person who ratted on the co-workers. You will probably be in such an environment seen as a bad person, and all in all, you'll make your life much more complicated. The best advice in this video I can give you: think before you do it. Think before you do it. Just like many things in a toxic and hostile work environment, you must be observant. You must see things around you. You must know how and what people do, what are their relations, what is the hierarchy in your company, and you must consider all of that before complaining. Because, it's a cliff, okay? Your complaining is right here. And once you complain, you fall off the cliff. And the consequences can be sometimes dire. Again, you can lose your job, which you probably need. You wouldn't be there if you didn't need it. You can make your life in that toxic workplace even more miserable. And at the end, you can get a lot more enemies than you already have. So that's it for this time. I hope this video helps. I hope that any human resources manager or people working in that department do not take this in a bad way. And all of those people have the utmost admiration from me for what they do. Those people who actually solve problems. The people who do not solve problems, I think companies should find a way to solve employees' problems in a different way. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. Please like and subscribe. It's a huge help for the channel. Again, I hope these videos help get through tough times. The main point of all these videos is to keep yourself intact, keep your health intact as much as possible, and to get through these stormy days as easier as possible. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your time.